Hello everyone, are you ready to master cloud computing? Whether you're a beginner just learning the basics or a pro preparing for your next certification, this is the series for you. Get ready to test your knowledge with Cloud Computing MCQs. In every video, we'll hit you with multiple choice questions, give you the correct answer, a clear, detailed explanation, and most importantly tell you exactly why the other options are wrong. We're starting at the absolute fundamentals and building all the way up to advanced topics and architecture. So grab your notes, hit that like button, and subscribe to join us on this journey from Cloud Zero to Cloud Hero. Let's dive into today's questions. What is cloud computing? Correct answer, delivery of computing services over the Internet. Explanation, cloud computing delivers servers, storage, databases, and more over the Internet. Why others are incorrect, installing software on physical machines and hosting data on local servers refer to traditional IT, creating websites offline is unrelated. Which of these is a cloud service model? Correct answer, SaaS. Explanation, main service models are IaaS, PaaS, SaaS. Why others are incorrect, all other options VPN, DNS, and HTTP are networking protocols or services, not models. In the context of cloud computing service models, the acronym IaaS represents which of the following full terms? Correct answer, infrastructure as a service. Explanation, infrastructure as a service is the cloud service model that provides fundamental computing resources like virtual machines, networks, and storage over the Internet on a pay-as-you-go basis. Why others are incorrect, interface as a system, this is not a recognized standard cloud computing service or acronym. Internet as a software, this is not a recognized cloud service model, the term software as a service is the correct term for software delivery. Integration as a service, this refers to specialized cloud-based integration platforms, but is not the standard term for IaaS. Which of these is a deployment model of cloud computing? Correct answer, hybrid cloud. Explanation, deployment models include public, private, hybrid, and multi-cloud. Why others are incorrect, other options are not standard deployment types. What is the main benefit of cloud computing? Correct answer, on-demand scalability. Explanation, scalability allows you to scale resources as needed. Why others are incorrect, other options are contradict cloud benefits. Which of the following concepts abstraction, productivity, or reliability is considered a fundamental and indispensable characteristic of modern cloud computing services? Correct answer, all of the mentioned. Explanation, all three concepts are fundamental, abstraction hides the infrastructure, reliability ensures continuous service availability, and productivity is enhanced through rapid provisioning and managed services. Why others are incorrect, abstraction, while a core technical principle, a cloud model also requires high availability that is reliability and user efficiency that is productivity. Productivity, this is a key benefit of the cloud, but it is achieved through the technical implementation of abstraction and the operational guarantee of reliability. Reliability, high availability is crucial, but it alone does not define the cloud without the technical concept of abstraction and the resulting benefit of productivity. The principle that allows cloud computing environments to rapidly provision and use a large pool of resources concurrently to break down and accelerate computationally intensive tasks, such as handling large data sets, is known as correct answer, scalability. Explanation: scalability is the ability to increase computational resources like servers and storage rapidly and massively to handle larger workloads, which is key for speeding up parallel batch processing. Why others are incorrect. Utility: this describes the pay-as-you-go business model of the cloud, not the technical feature responsible for rapid workload acceleration. Elasticity: this is the specific, automatic ability to scale up and down dynamically, but the fundamental ability to handle the large volume is scalability. Reliability: this refers to the system's ability to operate without failure. It ensures the job completes but doesn't determine its speed. Which of the following describes a key and distinguishing characteristic of cloud computing, related to its delivery, flexibility, or accessibility? Correct answer, all of the mentioned. Explanation: all three options, utility, type of delivery, elasticity, and low barrier to entry, are recognized as unique, defining attributes of the cloud computing model. Why others are incorrect. Low barrier to entry, while a unique attribute, it alone doesn't capture the full essence. Cloud is also defined by how resources are provisioned and scaled. Utility, type of delivery, this describes the pay-per-use business model but omits the key technical advantage of flexible resource scaling. Elasticity, this describes the on-demand scaling capability but omits the unique financial/business model and ease of access. Which of the following best defines the core concept of virtualization in computing? Correct answer, running multiple OS on one physical server. Explanation: virtualization is the creation of a virtual version of a resource, such as an operating system, server, storage device, or network resource, often enabling multiple isolated OS instances to run concurrently on a single piece of physical hardware. Why others are incorrect. Using real hardware only, virtualization is the opposite. It is about abstracting and logically dividing real hardware to create multiple virtual instances. Installing software manually, this is a general task unrelated to the concept of abstracting hardware resources. Running apps without the internet, this refers to offline execution and has no direct relationship with the process of virtualizing hardware. In cloud computing, which concept describes the system's capacity to automatically acquire and release computing resources dynamically to quickly match workload demands? Correct answer, the ability to automatically scale resources. Explanation: elasticity is the defining characteristic of the cloud that allows resources to be automatically scaled up or down in near real time, instantly adapting to changing demand and optimizing cost. Why others are incorrect. Data compression, this is a technique for reducing file size and has no direct relation to the dynamic scaling of computational resources. Fixed server capacity, this is characteristic of traditional IT infrastructure, which is the opposite of the flexible nature of cloud elasticity. Manual hardware expansion, this refers to the slow, non-cloud process of scalability, which lacks the immediate, automated nature of true elasticity. In the Jericho Forum's Cloud Cube model, which dimension physical location of data, ownership, or security boundary is explicitly defined by its state being internal or external relative to the organization's existing perimeter. Correct answer, physical location of data. Explanation: the physical location of data dimension is defined by internal/external states, which directly relate to whether the data resides inside or outside the organization's traditional geographical and network boundaries. Why others are incorrect. Ownership: this dimension is defined by proprietary/open and relates to technology control, not the organization's physical or network perimeter. Security boundary: this dimension is defined by perimeterized or deperimeterized and relates to the architectural mindset regarding the traditional firewall, not the data's internal/external status. All of the mentioned, this is incorrect as only the physical location of data dimension is explicitly mapped to the internal/external boundary states. Which cloud service model shifts the burden of managing and provisioning servers, operating systems, and underlying infrastructure entirely to the cloud provider, allowing the user only to focus on deploying and running their application code? Correct answer, cloud provider manages servers, user runs code. Explanation: serverless computing is an execution model where the cloud provider manages all the server administration, infrastructure provisioning, and capacity scaling, and the user is only responsible for deploying and executing their application code. Why others are incorrect. No servers exist at all. This is a common misconception. Servers still exist, but they are fully managed and hidden from the user by the cloud provider. Runs apps offline. Serverless computing is inherently an online, cloud-based model and cannot execute applications when disconnected. User maintains servers. This describes traditional hosting models or infrastructure as a service, which is the opposite of the serverless model's benefit. Which of the following service offerings is an example of an infrastructure as a service cloud provider? Correct answer, EC2. Explanation: EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud, which is the core IaaS offering from Amazon Web Services. It allows users to rent virtual machines, providing control over the operating system, middleware, and applications, which is the definition of IaaS. Why others are incorrect. EC10 and EC1, these are not recognized, standard cloud computing service names. Hybrid: this is a deployment model that is a mix of private and public cloud, not a specific infrastructure as a service provider or product. In the NIST definition of cloud computing, which fundamental characteristic enables a provider's computing resources to be aggregated and serve multiple consumers, with dynamic assignment and reassignment of physical and virtual resources according to demand? Correct answer, resource pooling. Explanation: resource pooling is the NIST characteristic that specifically refers to the provider's ability to pool a large set of resources like storage, processing, memory, and network bandwidth to serve multiple consumers simultaneously using a multi-tenant model. This abstraction is what allows the resources to be dynamically allocated and reallocated on demand. Why others are incorrect. Broad network access: this refers to the ability to access the service over the network using standard mechanisms, not the internal organization of the hardware. On-demand self-service: this refers to the consumer's ability to provision computing capabilities without human interaction, not the provider's resource architecture. All of the mentioned, while the others are NIST characteristics, only resource pooling addresses the concept of pooled together resources and multi-tenant usage. Which one of the following is a key architectural standard or tool set that plays an essential role in how applications are designed, communicated with, and deployed in the modern cloud computing environment? Correct answer, all of the mentioned. Explanation: all three concepts SOA, standardized web services, and web application frameworks are fundamental layers that define how cloud applications are built, communicate, and are exposed over the network. Why others are incorrect: web application frameworks, these are essential for development but represent only the application layer, not the communication or service organization layer. Standardized web services, these are the communication glue like REST/SOAP but don't define the larger service structure or the actual application code base. Service-oriented architecture, this defines the macro structure but relies on web services for communication and frameworks for implementation. Which common cloud service model provides the consumer with the highest degree of control over the fundamental virtualized resources, such as compute, storage, and networking hardware, requiring the user to manage the operating system and applications? Correct answer, infrastructure as a service. Explanation: IaaS is the service model that is built directly on top of the physical hardware, providing the consumer with essential virtualized resources like servers and storage. Why others are incorrect: PaaS, this abstracts away the hardware and operating system, focusing on providing a ready-to-use development platform. CaaS, this abstracts away the hardware and OS, focusing on containers as the main resource unit for deploying applications. All of the mentioned, this is incorrect because PaaS and CaaS focus on higher-level software components rather than the core hardware infrastructure. When a customer takes the base hardware infrastructure layer and adds the full software stack, including the operating system, middleware, and applications, what cloud service model has the offering effectively become for the end user? Correct answer, SaaS, software as a service. Explanation: when the cloud provider or a third party manages the entire stack, including the operating system and all applications, the consumer is only using the complete, ready-made software service. Why others are incorrect: IaaS, this model focuses only on the hardware and networking, the customer is still responsible for adding the operating system and all applications. PaaS, this model manages the OS and middleware but is focused on providing a platform for building and running applications, not the final application itself. All of the mentioned, this is incorrect as IaaS and PaaS involve the customer managing portions of the software stack, which the question implies is complete. What is data redundancy in the cloud? Correct answer, storing multiple copies for reliability. Explanation: redundancy ensures data durability through replication. Why others are incorrect: all other options reduce reliability. How many primary, foundational as a service delivery models are generally recognized and adopted in cloud computing, forming the basis of the cloud service stack? Correct answer, 3. Explanation: there are three main cloud service models that form the foundational stack of cloud computing: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Why others are incorrect: 4. This is sometimes cited if models like FaaS, that is function as a service/serverless, or CaaS as containers as a service are included, but the three core models are still IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. 1. This is incorrect. Cloud computing is defined by multiple distinct service models catering to different user needs. 2. This is incorrect. While IaaS and PaaS form the infrastructure/platform layers, the most recognized stack includes the end-user application layer as SaaS. In the context of the Cloud X as a service model often associated with unified communication tools, CaaS is the acronym for which service offering? Correct answer, communication. Explanation: while CaaS can also stand for Containers as a Service, in the X as a Service model focusing on tools, CaaS most commonly refers to Communication as a Service or PaaS, Communication Platform as a Service. Why others are incorrect? Community Cloud is a deployment model, not a service model like IaaS/PaaS/SaaS. Compliance as a service is a common security offering but is typically abbreviated as CaaS, though CaaS is often used for containers or communication. Computer, this is too vague. The foundational service for computing resources is IaaS. What common business process involves relocating an organization's digital assets, such as databases, software applications, and IT processes, from on-premises data centers or a different cloud environment to a cloud computing platform? Correct answer, moving data/applications to the cloud. Explanation: cloud migration is the process of moving an organization's digital resources, including data, applications, and IT infrastructure, to a public or private cloud computing environment. Why others are incorrect? Installing OS, this is a basic step in configuring any server, but it does not define the large-scale shift of IT resources that is a migration. Creating new local servers, this describes remaining on-premises or expanding a traditional data center, which is the opposite of cloud migration. Transferring internet providers, this only involves changing the company that provides network access and has no direct relation to where an organization hosts its computing infrastructure. Which of these is a characteristic of cloud computing? Correct answer, on-demand self-service. Explanation: on-demand self-service means user can provision resources anytime. Why others are incorrect? All other options describe non-cloud systems. Developed by the Jericho Forum, which specific framework is used to classify cloud environments based on 4 distinct and intersecting criteria to aid in security and deployment decisions. Correct answer, Cloud Cube. Explanation: the Cloud Cube model, developed by the Jericho Forum, categorizes a cloud network using 4 dimensions: internal/external, proprietary/open, perimeterized/deperimeterized, and insourced/outsourced. Why others are incorrect? Cloud service, this refers to the 3 basic service categories, that is IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, which are not the 4 specific dimensions of the categorization model. Cloud Square, this is not a recognized model for categorizing cloud networks based on 4-dimensional factors. All of the mentioned, this is incorrect as neither Cloud Square nor Cloud Service refers to the 4-dimensional categorization framework. In the Jericho Forum's Cloud Cube model, which dimension addresses the architectural mindset of security protection and determines whether operations are inside or outside the traditional network firewall. Correct answer, 2. Explanation: the security boundary dimension in the Cloud Cube model has 2 values: perimeterized, which is inside the traditional firewall boundary, and aperimeterized, which is outside the traditional boundary. Why others are incorrect? 4. This number represents the total number of dimensions in the cloud cube model, not the number of states for the security boundary. 3. This number is not related to any primary dimension or state within the cloud cube model. 1. This is incorrect as the security boundary is a binary choice between perimeterized and aperimeterized. In the context of cloud computing service models, which category is specifically responsible for supplying the necessary toolkits, libraries, development frameworks, and control mechanisms required for building and deploying applications? Correct answer, PaaS. Explanation: Platform as a Service provides a complete environment including operating systems, development tools, and database management that enables developers to deploy and manage applications without the complexity of managing the infrastructure. Why others are incorrect? IaaS, Infrastructure as a Service, provides raw computing resources like VMS, storage, networks, but requires the user to install all development frameworks themselves. SaaS, Software as a Service, provides a complete, ready-to-use application like email or CRM software but offers no development frameworks for building new software. All of the mentioned is incorrect because IaaS and SaaS have different primary focus areas that don't directly match the description.